Colorado, the Permian for water. Investing in water can be tricky, but we sit down with investor Chad Brownstein, CEO of Rocky Mountains Resources, who calls Colorado the Permian for water. Coming up, investing in water. I'm going to talk to Chad Brownstein, CEO of Rocky Mountain Resources, about why he thinks Colorado is the Permian of water. That's next on Bloomberg Commodities Edge. All right, now let's turn to Commodity in Chief. We focus on one executive in the commodity world, and today is Chad Brownstein, the CEO of Rocky Mountain Resources. First, let's take a closer look at one of his investment ideas. 322 billion gallons of water per day was used in the U.S. in 2015. There are two places you can find the water. On the surface, think streams, rivers, lakes, and oceans. And underground, the water that goes into wells and springs. How do you invest? You can buy utility companies like American Water Works, a water index, ETF, or the underlying assets. Take Colorado. Surface rights there are pretty liquid. They can be bought, sold, and traded. Older water rights have priority and therefore more value. Now, the underground market is trickier. If the land and underground water are tied together, it's treated like a surface right. If not, then the landowner has to claim the water in a formal, long process. Then they are free to buy, sell, or trade. And both need to prove that the water is being put to good use. No waste, no speculation. So far, some say it's a small industry, just about $75 billion market. Some investors think it could grow to $500 billion in a decade. Well, the Senate recently passed legislation to give state and water utilities subsidized financing to build water treatment plants and other projects. So I sat down with Chad to find the best way to invest in water.
We think that Colorado is the Permian of water. So if you look at how those valuations have gone from $1,000 an acre to most recently in the federal sale, $75,000 an acre, you could see $50,000 an acre foot being paid for significant water positioning.
How do you invest in it?
So you can buy water either
literally buy water and store it.
You can buy it. Well, storing is a different business.
Okay.
So buying water is the first part. You either buy it because it's in an aquifer below the ground, or you buy it when it's above ground in a river. How much you can actually sell or use is the next question. There's also an opportunity to buy water storage. Water storage in Colorado is a very big issue, particularly with the change of seasons and climate issues. You don't know how much water you're going to have coming off a bad year of skiing or a good year of skiing because of the snow. We're working on storage, we're working on crops, we're working on solar, we're working on all different utilizations on top of the large swaths of agricultural land that are important. You have to have an open mind to where the most value is being created. We're working on a public-private partnership in the solar space right now with one of our municipalities where we're not only utilizing the solar, solar is driving the water production. So we have a play in the above-ground renewable space that in the natural resources world is going to be probably the model going forward in many states. So what kind of return and time frame for investing would you be looking at with something like this? So we always, at our organization, look for a cash-on-cash yield of 15% on an unlevered basis. Water, because of the lack of availability in the opportunity, presents itself as having that. But ultimately, you have to have customers that buy your water. To oil producers who need water, you know, when you frack a well, it's 90,000 barrels to frack a well. There's a lot of unused resource in Colorado and throughout the West that could be utilized on a revenue basis. Storage, transportation, you're going to see infrastructure build, you're going to see water treatment plants. All these things are going to be done in the private sector over the next 10 years. What would be your exit strategy then for your investment? Well, there are some public companies in the water space, but it's limited. I think the entire market cap of the active water space is less than $10 billion. It's 5 or 7 companies. So you're going to look and see that over the next 10 years, it's almost going to be like the tech boom and water is going to be a big driver of that. You saw after 2012, a lot of the oil and gas companies go public. Private equity dollars poured in with the resource at the bottom of the forward curve. You're going to see private equity play a big role in building out the water business, and the natural thing will be taking it public.
Are valuations creeping up at all? Is it getting more interest?
You're going to see raw land is going to take a turn north. So in 2008, if you were going to buy an acre foot of water in Colorado, it cost $9,000. 2018 is $32,000.
What kind of valuations do you see then?
We very comfortably recognize that if you buy water for $7,000, $8,000 an acre foot, you're going to be in a position where you can survive long term. I think the big key with water is not having leverage on the business. You got to have the ability to withstand a great year if there's overflow from a great snow season, or you've got to be able to provide, from the storage perspective, a banner year if there's been an underperformance of the weather.
That was my interview with Rocky Mountain Resources CEO Chad Brownstein. And some of the risks, no surprise, include hedging, the water quality, and, of course, the weather. He does see some money starting to come into the space.